The Flamer Enclave Plasma Rifle is one of the rarest and best weapons in Fallout 76, and the normal Flamer Plasma Rifle is even easier to get, and it's also very strong. But with the right build, these weapons will pretty much melt everything in the game. So today I wanted to share the EPR build that I personally use. This is the main build that I use every day because surprisingly it works very well with 2 other weapons, so I'm not forced into using the EPR all day. But before we get into this video, if you're a fan of the Fallout games and the Fallout TV show, click the link in the pinned comment below to join my Fallout Discord server, where you can find other people to play Fallout 76 with, discuss the Fallout TV show, or just talk about anything related to Fallout. I am also giving away a Prime Flamer Enclave Plasma Rifle on PC. If you would like to win this, all you need to do is subscribe to this channel and comment your in-game name in the comments below. But again, this is only for people on PC. Now let's start off with the power armor that will be needed for this build. Personally, I use the T65 because I like the damage resistances on it. But you could use whichever power armor that you like because the important part of the power armor is just the mods that we'll use on it. On the helmet, all we added to this was the internal database, which will increase our intelligence by 2. Intelligence will be a very important stat for this build, so we want to get as much of it as we can. The rest of the armor will use the same mods. First, we have the 1-star Troubleshooters mod, which will reduce the damage that we take from robots by 15% each. So if it's on every piece of the armor, that's 75% reduced damage from robots. This is only on our armor to solo farm the Guardian boss of the raid. The 2-star mod that we'll be using is the Intelligence mod, which will increase our intelligence by 2 each. The 3-star mod honestly really doesn't matter, and it can be whatever you want it to be. There just aren't many good options in this slot that will make our build better, so instead you want to pick a utility type perk like Through Hikers, or the Safecrackers mod so you don't need to use perk cards to lockpick or hack. But the 3-star mod really doesn't matter. And the 4-star mod that we'll be using is Rangers. This mod will increase the damage that we do with our ranged weapons by 5% each, or a total of 25%. This is a big one because it's a big increase to the damage that we do. I'm also using calibrated shocks on my legs to increase my carry weight by 100 pounds, and the medic pump mod on the torso to make farming the first boss of the raid a little safer. And that's pretty much all you'll need on your power armor. Now let's take a look at the Enclave Plasma Rifle that I use for this build. So starting off, we of course have the Flamer Barrel mod, which is required for this build. You will also need a scope for this build, and I put the Prime Capacitor on it just to squeeze as much damage as possible out of this weapon. As a side note, if you don't have an Enclave Plasma Rifle or the Flamer and Scope mods for it, you can also use a normal Plasma Rifle. This is a much easier option because you just need to go to the Brotherhood of Steel vendor in the White Spring Mall to buy the plasma gun plan. And then you can go to Camden Park and talk to vendor bot Chad to buy the plans for the Flamer Barrel and Scope mods for the normal plasma rifle. This is a much easier option that even a brand new player can get, but the Enclave Plasma Rifle will do more damage. The first legendary mod that we want on our EPR is the Furious mod, which will make us gain stacks of Onslaught, and each stack will increase our damage by 5%. With just this mod, you can get a damage increase of 45%. Next, we want the 2-star Hitman's mod. This will increase our damage by another 25% while aiming. This is a big one because we're gonna pair this with a perk card to do even more damage while aiming, and that's why we need a scope on the weapon. The 3-star mod will be Intelligence, which will increase our intelligence by 3, and our 4-star mod will be Pinpointers, which will increase the damage that we do to enemy weak points by 20%. And again, you can throw all of this onto a normal plasma rifle and it will still be a very powerful weapon. And now let's go over the perk cards for this build, starting with the legendary perks. Most of these are going to be used to boost your special stats to let you fit all of the perk cards into the build. But the 2 that we really want are Follow Through and Taking One for the Team. Follow Through will make you do 40% more damage for 10 seconds when you do sneak attacks. This is really good for the Guardian boss and for any other tanky enemy that you can get a sneak attack in on first. And taking one for the team will make enemies that attack you take up to an extra 40% damage from you if you're on a team. Together, these two legendary perks will give you a big boost in damage. But now let's go over the normal perk cards. There will be a lot of them here, but let's focus on the ones that are important. Easy Target will increase your damage by 75% against crippled targets. When you break the Guardian's shield, it will become a crippled target, making you do 75% more damage to it, but it also works on other enemies. Bulletstorm will give us a 9% damage increase every time we spend 30 ammo. The EPR has a large mag. Mine holds 144 rounds, so that means I can get 4 stacks of this buff for a 36% damage increase. Number Cruncher will increase your weapon's damage by 2% per AP cost of the weapon. Tormentor will make you do 20% more damage per crippled limb that your target has. The Guardian will have one crippled limb when you break its shield, so that's an easy 20%. Tank Killer will make your weapons ignore 40% of your target's armor. Scoped Up will increase the range on your weapon by 50% while aiming. Smart Shot will make you do 25% more damage to weak shots while aiming a scoped weapon. Center Masochist will increase your damage by 75% when attacking your target's torso. This is really easy to do on pretty much every enemy, as the flamer will just spray your targets all over. Bullet Shield is needed for solo farming the Guardian boss, and it will give you a chance to deflect attacks back at the target when firing a heavy weapon. So you will need a heavy weapon for this perk card, but you can use literally anything. I use a random 50 cal machine gun that I had in my stash box. Starched Jeans is pretty important because it makes you keep your mutations even if you use Radaway. So get your mutations and then lock them in with this perk card. Tenderizer will make you do more damage to your target every time you hit them. This is a good perk when used on tanky enemies because you'll just do more and more damage to them every time you hit them. Another good option is Strange in Numbers because it makes your mutations a little stronger if you're playing on a team with people who also have mutations. First Aid and Field Surgeon are good picks because they make Stimpaks heal you for more and heal you faster. Survivability is always a good thing to have. Science is one of the most important perk cards because it will make your plasma rifle do more damage based on the amount of intelligence that you have. That's why we've been stacking up as much intelligence as possible. The more we get, the more damage that will do. Batteries included will reduce the weight of the plasma rifle ammo. And Gunsmith will make our plasma rifle not break as fast. Plasma rifles break very quickly, so this perk makes them a little bit more durable. Covert Operative makes our ranged sneak attacks do 50% more sneak attack damage. This is not a sneak build, but we'll be doing sneak attacks when fighting against the Guardian. Gunslinger Expert will make us do 1% more damage to weak spots per onslaught stack that we have, and it will increase the amount of stacks that we can have by 3. Gorilla makes us do 20% more range damage to close enemies. Gorilla Expert will make us reload 1% faster per onslaught stack and increase the max amount of stacks by 3. Gorilla Master will increase our range damage by 5% to close enemies per onslaught stack that we have, and increase our max onslaught stacks by 5. Class Freak will reduce the negative effects of our mutations by 75. And Quick Hands will give us an 18% chance to instantly reload our mag when we fire the last round in the mag. This won't happen every time, but when it does, it will make Bulletstorm even stronger. And those are all of the major perk cards that we'll need for this build, but you could also just copy the build that you see on screen. The mutations that I used for this build are pretty basic. First is Egghead, which will increase our intelligence by 6 and slightly reduce our strength and endurance. Next we use Herbivore to double the effects of the intelligence food that we'll be using. Marsupial will reduce our intelligence by 1, but it also helps a lot with mobility and gives us a little extra carry weight. And Speed Demon will increase our movement speed by 20% and reload speed by 30%, but it drains our thirst and hunger a little more while we're moving. When it comes to food buffs, I'll be honest and say I really don't use them often. This build is very strong as is, and it's more than strong enough to handle all of the basic content in the game, but I do use food and other buffs when I go into the raid. The food that I use for this is Brain Bombs, which will increase our intelligence by 6. I also use the astoundingly awesome Tails 10 magazine, which will increase the damage that scoped weapons do by 35%. And I use the Energy Weapons bobblehead, which will increase energy gun damage by 20%. And I use Psycho Tats because it increases the amount of damage that you do by 25%. It also increases damage resistance by 15% and increases perception by 3 for 3 minutes. And I use the Mechanical Derby camp item to increase my intelligence by another 2. You can use these as often as you would like, but I only really use them for raiding. Now that we've put this build together, let's take it over to the Guardian. This build will be very easy to use against the Guardian. Just start the fight and pop all of your consumables for the buffs, then run to this ramp and crouch to enter sneak mode to get sneak attacks. When the fight starts, slowly shoot the boss with a heavy weapon to get bullet shield active, and then just spam your stim packs to keep yourself alive, and keep shooting every few seconds to keep bullet shield up. When the Guardian shield is down, whip out your plasma rifle and start shooting, and you'll see that you're doing a lot of damage, and the damage numbers will be increasing. But like I mentioned earlier, this build also lets you use the Elder's Mark and the Cold Shoulder. Of course, they won't be at their maximum potential, but they can still do a lot of damage. I pretty much always carry around the EPR, Elder's Mark, and Cold Shoulder, and just swap between them as I go, and I'm still able to deal with everything that I encounter. So it's really nice to be able to have that selection aspect in a build and kind of use whatever you want for that situation. But that's pretty much it. I have a lot of build videos coming, I just wanted to start with the one that I used the most. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see more builds, subscribe to this channel. And for that Prime Flamer EPR giveaway, it's currently Thursday and I'll be picking a winner tomorrow night. I hope you enjoyed this build and thank you for watching.